would say. You spoke about making a sacrifice, and you were wondering what you were going to talk about. And then you spoke about phones, right? Like putting our, and that's how you asked us to keep our phones on silent by making a sacrifice and actually keeping our phones away from us, which, and I think all of us sort of, our hearts skipped a beat almost, because that's something so close to us right now, right? So that was really good. Then from there you went on to introduce the theme. So you asked the audience a question like how many of you love movies? So that was a nice way to relate to the audience after that. And so the flow was all really good. One suggestion, if I may, I just thought that you could have used the stage a little bit more, right? But all in all, great job done, right? So can we give him a round of applause? And then from there we moved on to the acting president, Avinash. So Avinash, you two had a good opening, the way you welcomed all the guests. I thought you were very warm in your welcome. The way you looked at each one and smiled at them, and there was a smile on your face throughout. It's not like, so all of us were also looking and, paying attention to that. So that was good. And then you spoke about Chasing Maverick, a movie that has inspired you. Right? So again, an appropriate way, very relevant to the theme, and you used that to also talk about the Toastmasters movement. You just moved on, used the inspiration part of it to move on to so the flow was really good. The only suggestion I would say was that at some point, I was sitting on the third row and I felt that at some points, I could not hear you very well, right? Especially at the end of the sentences, I thought that there were times in which you were eating up your words, right? But besides that, great job done. So can we give him a round of applause as well? So then we had the MC, Ratan. So I will reserve my comments for Ratan till the end. We have the prepared speeches. So let's start with the evaluations for that. The first speaker was Purushottam, and he was giving his CC1. His evaluator was Vaidyanathan.
So what a paradox. The man who hated books is going to evaluate a voracious reader. So ladies and gentlemen, it's an icebreaker for me as well, because this is the first time that I'm going to evaluate a speaker. Great, so congratulations to Toastmaster Purushottam for attempting Project CC1, which is the first step that you have taken towards achieving your goal of becoming a DTM. So let's see how exactly you have fared in your speech. So CC1 is all about making an impression or an effort to inform the audience about yourself. So there are quite a few positives. One is the amazing stage presence that you had. You came on stage and you literally conquered. The speech was full of gestures and it was sprinkled with a lot of humor. Never ever even I had an iota of doubt that you were attempting your CC1. Because it was way ahead. We all were under the impression that you were attempting your CC4 or 5, but finally at the end of the speech, there was a twist in the story that finally we got to know that you were attempting your CC1. So great. And there were quite a few generous usage of your quotes as well. You have used quotes during the course of your speech. Great. But CC1 calls for informing about you as a person and about you, about your family, about your educational background, where you study. But I feel that you have missed it that part. Because we got to know that you were born in 1977 and you were a voracious reader. But we never got to know where you were born, where you studied, where you are working, and about your parents. Everything was revolving around the books, studies. So it was more like a CC4 or CC5 speech. So much advanced, but for CC1, it's more of expressing yourself to audience and informing about you as a person. So overall, I appreciate your stage presence, your confidence, and the way in which you presented yourself. But as a scope for improvement, I would suggest is you can reduce the rate at which you spoke. There were quite a few times where you spoke really fast. Then I may not be able to, people may not be able to, follow what you are trying to convey. So that's one area which you can improve upon. Otherwise, it was a fabulous speech, way beyond your CC1. All the very best for your future speeches.
I totally second that. Great speech, Purushottam, and you are clearly have a great potential as a speaker, I would say, right? So a lot of stage presence as